All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to begin with our expedited accusation calendar with the State Court of Fulton County. This is for Saturday, December 9th, and this is for cases in which individuals were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Upon being booked in, the cases were soon formally accused by the prosecutor's office, which is the Solicitor General's office of Fulton County. This would be the defendant's initial appearance before a judicial officer, and at which time the defendant will be advised of his or her new accusation number, the charges brought against the individual, as well as to appoint counsel if one is needed, and also to set a bond where one has not been set. If you are a defendant accused of one or more misdemeanor offenses, please remember the following rights. The first one is the right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say or state in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. So if you have anything to add with regards to your case, please just let your attorney speak on your behalf. This is a recorded and live streamed proceeding, so please be very wary of what you say in open court. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you, and the counsel will either be from the public defender's list or from our conflict defense list. All right. I have some individuals who are from outside. If you're appearing by Zoom, please keep in mind that we have certain rules with folks appearing by Zoom. That is, you're not supposed to be driving. You're not supposed to be moving around, not eating, drinking, or dressed inappropriately. If there is such a situation, we will remove you from the Zoom. Okay, courtroom 2. Who do we have first?
Position number 1, Anderson.
All right. And Mr. Jordan, good afternoon. Is reset date still December 21st?
Yes, it is, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Your Honor, not to interrupt, but Shantella Anderson, position number 1, has a co-defendant, position number 3, Charles Bucknight. And if we could address those at the same time, it would move things along.
Deputy Francois, is Mr. Bucknight in the courtroom? We can have him come forward as well.
Yes. I believe, I'm sorry to interrupt, I believe both of those cases, was there an NOD on those?
There was an NOD only as to the simple battery.
All right, Shantella Anderson is seated there, and her case number is 23CR 7821Y, accused of criminal trespass and causing damage to property from December 8th, 2023. Mr. Bucknight, Charles Bucknight, is case 23CR 007-822Y, accused of criminal trespass causing damage to property from the same date. Both of you have been advised of your right to remain silent, and Miss Anderson, you are going to be represented by
Your Honor, I would take that case. Good morning, Judge.
All right, good morning. I just want to mention that Mr. Bucknight is represented by Miss Maureen McLeod, but she has not joined the Zoom yet. So I'll just address these two cases right now, but I'll address bond as soon as Miss McLeod enters the Zoom. With regards to Miss Anderson, this is her second arrest. Any recommendation, Miss Falk?
Didn't realize I had my computer muted. Yes, it appears that the two of them got into an altercation at 4250 Stacks Road on December 8th, where they began throwing rocks at each other's vehicles. The defendant Anderson damaged defendant Bucknight's Ford F-150, and defendant Bucknight damaged defendant Anderson's black Maserati, as well as a red oil-like fluid was poured on some of defendant Anderson's property. There was one witness who said they observed the two of them fighting with each other. They were not sure who the primary aggressor was, which is why the state NOD'd the simple battery as to both. For both cases, we are recommending a signature bond. Through pretrial services, we are also asking for one-day anger awareness as to both cases, that they stay away from one another, and that they, have no further contact with one another and stay away from the address. I'm not sure who whose primary address this is. And so if the public defender's office maybe can assist with helping us ascertain whose primary address is at 4250 Stacks Road in Atlanta.
Mr.
Yes.
Bartel, do you have a comment about the stay away?
Well, Your Honor, I had actually thought, my impression was that both cases would be dismissed. I did not realize that it was just the simple battery charge that was
Okay.
not dismissed. So if I could, I guess, talk, I guess by phone by Ms. Anderson, I can call that courtroom if the court can move on to another case.
I have different addresses, so I'm just going to ask them directly. Courtroom 2,
That would
please.
be fine.
Miss Anderson, do you live at 4250 Stacks Road?
No, that's our business address.
Oh, our business address. Okay, what kind of business is that?
We have a liquidation company.
What company?
Liquidation.
I can
company.
hear it, but it keep going in and out.
Liquidation company.
Yes.
Kaylin, iPhone, please mute yourself, otherwise we will remove you from Zoom. Thank you.
He's there on another case, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. With regards to Chantella Anderson, is going to be a $2,500 signature bond through the jail. With regards to Bach Knight, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through the jail. Both of you are to have no further violent contact with each other. And if there is any further altercations, you both are going to end up in jail. All right. So from this point onwards, there cannot be any physical or verbal altercations. If the police get involved again, they're not going to ask questions. Both of you are going to end up in jail. You're going to lose your signature bond, and that could jeopardize your business and whatnot. Do you understand?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
You both can either stay with the public defender's office, or you can hire your own attorneys to deal with these cases. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mhm.
Next is position number 2, Barnett.
And Lloyd, Miss Brandy Barnett is 23 CR 7820A, accused of loitering and prowling from December 8th, 2023.
Your Honor,
Yes, Ms. Barker?
I'm sorry to interrupt. There are also, I believe, 2 co-defendants in that case as well, Mr. Ross and Mr. Dorsey. We've requested conflict attorney for those.
Who are you representing? Miss Barnett?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Yeah, I don't have conflict counsel on Zoom, right? So I'll take the conflicts later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Brandy Barnett, as I was saying, is accused of loitering and prowling. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Bartel. I see that 14 cycles. Is she currently on probation?
On probation out of Jackson County for drug possession and distribution.
All right. And this is from, is that from 2018 or prior arrest?
Prior.
Okay.
It was 2015 case.
All right. And what was the 2018 case?
Use of a firearm by a convicted felon during the commission. Possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Ag assault.
Disposition?
I'm not sure. I didn't look it up.
Okay.
It's in Athens, Clark County. I don't think it had one on there. I'm not sure.
Ms. Falk, do you have a bond recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. We were actually not aware that the defendant had a history. We were not able to ascertain a GCIC when we tried to pull one up, and she had no cases or arrests in Fulton County. So we are going to
Let me look it up real quick, Shelly. Let me look it up real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a little bit different than what she told me.
Correct.
Okay. We will hold on Miss Barnett and move on to next case.
No, hold on, Judge. Hold on.
All right, you have it?
Okay, they got Brandon Barnett in here, so yeah, we can roll with them, Judge. I'll let the people know.
So it's Brandon Barnett and not Brandy Barnett?
Yeah, and then they spelled it wrong anyway. So
Okay.
yeah, we'll roll with what the state got.
All right, Miss Falk, I'm going to go ahead and let me know what your recommendation is.
Yes, Your Honor. Given that this was the defendant being at 300 Deering Road in the parking lot with some other individuals who were seen pulling on car door handles, and given that we show that this is her first arrest, our recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services, as well as stay away from the location at 300 Deering Road and no further contact with both co-defendants, who would be Mr.
Ross and
Correct, Mr. Ronald Dorsey and Mr. Amir Ross. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
any objection, Mr. Bartel?
No objection, Your Honor.
Right.
And as the stated indicated, the allegation that she was actually in the car when the other people were doing whatever it is they were doing, she indicates that she was asleep, but we would just ask for a signature bond as well, Your Honor.
Wrong time, wrong nap. Okay, $1,000 signature bond through pretrial services. She will report to pretrial once a month. This is an open, active case against you, Ms. Barnett. You're also to have no contact with Mr. Ross Mr. Dorsey, which is position number 9, Ronald Dorsey, and no contact with Mr. Ross, who is position 20, Amir Ross. So after today, you are no longer friends with Dorsey and Ross, and you are to stay away from 300 Deering Road. If you violate any of these conditions or you get arrested again, this $1,000 signature bond through pretrial will be revoked. Thank you. Ms.
Thank you.
McLeod, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. McLeod, on position number 3, Charles Walknight, we addressed the case. He has a $2,500 signature bond through the jail and no further violent contact with Shantella Anderson. And the case is further noticed.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Your Honor, on position 2, I just want to clarify that location is Atlantic Loring Heights Apartments.
All right. So she's to stay away from the entire Atlantic. What was it again? Something Heights.
Atlantic Loring, Loring Heights Apartments.
All right. She doesn't live there, does she?
Not to my knowledge, no.
All right. So,
She does not, Your Honor.
all right. So she can, no reason to be there anymore.
Right.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may I say something
On which case?
on this case that the court is addressing right now?
Yeah, I'm going to address the 2 other defendants shortly. So as soon as we're ready, we'll address that. Thank you. Next case, Francois, we have someone with who is that?
Position 7 of this officer Blunt.
Position 7, is that Michaela Coggins?
Yes.
All right. She's accused of theft by taking from June 12, 2023, case 23 CR 7825J. Ms. Coggins, this is your first arrest. You've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Bartel.
My
Okay.
case, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened back it spanned from December 2022 to June 2023 at the Daiquiri Bar and Grill at 5415 Old National Highway. Apparently, the defendant was going into the system using a manager code and voiding out items that then became considered as tips because they weren't associated to any purchases. It's believed about $800 of money was stolen in this manner. This is the defendant's first offense, and the state's recommendation is a signature bond to stay away from 5415 Old National Highway, which is the Daiquiri Bar and Grill. It's the full name is the New Orleans Daiquiri Bar and Grill, and no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We are also going to ask for an anti-theft course.
All right. Mr. Bartel, the bond is going to be set at $2,000. It's a signature bond through pretrial services to stay away from the New Orleans Daiquiri Bar and Grill at 5415 Old National Highway. She's not to contact the manager or the staff in any way, form, or manner at that location. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and her next court date will be sent to her current mailing address. Yeah, if she
Thank you,
changes the
Judge.
address, she's required to let the court know in writing. Okay?
Thank you, Judge.
All right, thank you. Case is further notice. Next case, please.
Position 8. Come on, Kylie.
Jenny Dogan is accused of simple battery family violence. The accusation is 23 CR 7826E. And the allegation, all right, let's go ahead and mute Mr. Hassan Dogan. Thank you. Thank you. All right, as I was saying, she's accused of simple battery family violence. She's been advised of her right to remain silent, and her attorney is Miss Atay. This is her first arrest, Miss Falk. Any recommendations?
Yes, Your Honor. It appears that Mr. Hassan Dogan, who is here on the Zoom today, was the victim in this case that happened yesterday at 910 Burren Drive in Milton, Georgia. Miss Dogan stated she felt threatened by her husband because he was holding a plate and knife, and they were in a verbal argument. She pushed him about 4 or 5 different times because she stated she was afraid of what would happen, but at no time did he threaten her or point the knife or the plate at her. Given that she has no history, we are recommending a signature bond through pretrial services. We are asking that she take 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further violent contact with Hassan Dogan, and we're not going to ask for a stay away at this time. We would like to sound for Mr. Hassan Dogan. We did not have an opportunity to speak with him in regards to this case before court.
Okay. Mr. Dogan, you can now unmute your Zoom panel and start your video, or the host may have to prompt that. And it's only if you wish to address the court. Otherwise, you're free to remain silent.
I'm sorry, Your Honor, can you hear me?
Yes. Mr. Dogan, do you have any concerns if Mrs. Dogan is allowed to return back to the home and live with you?
I thank you, Your Honor. I think things got out of proportion yesterday, and I don't think my wife deserved to go to jail yesterday.
Okay. But right now, right now, you're okay with her going home with you?
Yes, I just have one concern. I just want to make sure this thing is never going to repeat again. There will not be any verbal or physical aggression in my household. I just want to make sure that's clear and understood by everyone in this courtroom.
Understood. Thank you, Mr. Dogan. You may mute yourself. All right. Mr. Bartel, you are Ms. Atay, you're presently representing Mrs. Dogan, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
The bond is going to be $2,500. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. No further violent contact with Hassan Dogan. She may return to the marital home if she decides to do so. If she doesn't want to live there anymore, that's entirely up to her. But wherever she lives, she needs to confirm her correct mailing address with the court within the next 30 days. She's not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and not possess any weapons or any firearms. If there are any firearms in the marital home, they must be removed and stored elsewhere or be subject to destruction by law enforcement. Her next court date will be sent to her current mailing address, and while she's out on pretrial bond, she will attend and complete a 1 day anger awareness program with pretrial. Thank you.
Position number 11.
And we have our interpreter available as well. If the deputy in courtroom 2 would want to arrange that as well, or does the defense counsel need to speak to the defendant with the interpreter?
I do. I have not been able to interview him, and I do need, and that's for position 15.
We haven't yet. Someone was getting ready to bring him from intake. He was just arriving from Alpharetta jail.
Okay, so I don't know if I would do the interview through a breakout or they'll call me. If so, please just, I have a lot of cases.
Position 15 and what else? Is that
That's the only one that I need the interpreter for.
Okay. Mr. Bartel, do you have an interpreter case that you need?
No, I don't, Your Honor. I have case number 11. I think that's next up. So
okay,
maybe we could do that while Ms. Atay speaks with the interpreter.
Well, we can't do anything until he's brought in from intake, so that we have to hold on that.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, but moving on to your case, Mr. Bartel, your client is Chantel Hagens, case number 23 CR 7827G. And the accusation is pointing or aiming a gun or pistol at another, simple assault, family violence. Those are the two charges. Is it Miss Higgins? Is it Miss Higgins in courtroom 2?
Yes.
All right. You have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Paul Bartel. This is, I understand, a second arrest with a 2015 larceny from another jurisdiction. Ms. Falk, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. In this case, it was alleged that the defendant pointed a handgun at Anthony Smith's head. This was after police had already been out to that location earlier that day at 2380 Bigwood Trail, because the defendant had locked her brother, Anthony Smith, out of the residence. When police then tried to contact the defendant claimed she was in Panama City, Florida, but not even a couple of hours later, they went back out to the residence after Anthony Smith alleged that the defendant pointed a gun at his head, talked to the defendant. The defendant admitted that she was not in Florida when she talked to the police the first time, but claimed that Anthony Smith had attacked her, and she said if he hit her, she would up the handgun at him. I will point out that officers did locate a handgun on the defendant's person in her pocket, and that does give some credence to the allegation that Anthony Smith made that during an argument, she pointed the handgun at his head. We are requesting, given the nature of this offense and the fact that it did involve a handgun, this could have ended quite differently. We are requesting a $11,000 surety bond, $10,000 on the count 1 of pointing a weapon at another, $1,000 as to count 2 simple assault, family violence. We are asking for no further contact with Anthony Smith. We are further asking for a stay away from 2380 Bigwood Trail, South Fulton, and that any firearms be surrendered to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We did have a chance to speak to Anthony Smith. He stated that they do reside together, and he stated he is not afraid of the defendant. However, he did call police twice to that address due to this incident. That's all for the state, and we would like to sound for Anthony Smith.
Anthony Smith, if you are present on Zoom, please unmute and start your video if you would like to contribute. Otherwise, you're free to remain silent. All right, Mr. Bartel?
Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. I have spoken with Ms. Higgins. I have looked at the information that's available, which in this case is just the warrant. But she does deny pointing a pistol at Mr. Smith. And what I'm told is that he is actually her brother, and they were staying together. I'm also told that her name is on the lease and she is paying the rent. And I'm advised that this was a verbal dispute about the expenses and him paying part of that. But again, she does deny pointing the pistol at her brother. My client is employed full-time. She works at FanDuel. She's a customer service rep for them. I'm also advised that she has 2 kids, aged 12 and 6. She has been in Atlanta for 3 years, so she does have ties to the community. As has been indicated, her history is minimal, Judge. There's certainly no violent charge at all in her record. And I am advised that she's planning to find another place to stay, especially if Mr. Smith were to stay behind and stay at this residence, although my understanding is that he's not on the lease. But because they don't need to have any contact, there would not be any problem with the no further contact order. And given her minimal history, we would still ask for a signature bond, Your Honor. If the court's not inclined to do that, we would ask for a $1,500 bond on the first charge and then a $1,000 bond on the second charge for $2,500 total.
State, I'm going to accept the defense recommendation. It's a $1,500 surety bond on the count 1 and a $1,000 surety bond on count 2. Total bond is $2,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Anthony Smith, and to stay away at 2380 Bigwood Trail in South Fulton, Georgia from this moment onwards. She's allowed to return to the location 1 time only with a police officer to retrieve her personal belongings and her children. After that, within 30 days of being released on bond, she must update the court with her new address in writing. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and definitely no weapons and no firearms. All firearms owned by Ms. Higgins must be surrendered to the authorities for destruction. The next court date will be December 21st.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Position number 12, courtroom 3 will be logging on shortly for the interpreter case.
All right, thank you. Position 12 is Arinthia Denise Holmes, 23 CR 7809G. Ms. Holmes is accused of battery family violence from December 7th, 2023. You have been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. McLeod.
6 total. Theft by receiving, possession of marijuana was the last. 2013 simple assault, cruelty to children. 2019 battery DV, jail was the recommendation.
Was the battery DV a conviction?
I'm not sure.
All right, thank you. Ms. Folk?
Yes, Your Honor. Give me just a moment. I can actually answer that question for you. It looks like the simple assault, family violence, and cruelty to children in 2013 was record restricted, and that family violence battery is this case.
Oh, no, I'm talking about the 2019 indication of battery domestic violence. Is that the one that's record restricted?
I will say I don't see a 2019 family violence battery. I have a 2017 arrest, and then it jumps to the 2023 arrest according to the GCIC.
I see. All right.
So I'm not sure if maybe it's an out of state, but I'm not showing an out of state arrest either.
Okay. I see courtroom 3 is in a just logged in. Mr.
I'll put him in a breakout room.
All right, with Miss Atay and the interpreter?
Yes, no.
Thank you. All right. Okay, so what's the recommendation then, based on this history?
Yes, Your Honor. We would recommend this incident happened on the 7th of December. Apparently, she and her live-in boyfriend, the defendant, her live-in boyfriend, Daryl Watkins, got into an argument, and he was scratched by her. He stated he was scratched with a knife, but no knife was located, and he had scratches consistent with fingernails. They have been living together for more than 5 months, and she is pregnant with his child. Given the fact that we are not showing any convictions for domestic violence, we have 1 arrest for simple assault, which does not appear to have been prosecuted from back in 2000. I believe that was 2013. The state's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services. We are going to recommend, based on the fact that she does have that previous simple assault family violence, though, we will recommend family violence intervention program, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further contact with Daryl Watkins, and stay away from 266 Tonawanda Drive. That is Tonawanda Drive, Southeast Atlanta. We would like to sound for Mr. Daryl Watkins at this time.
Mr. Watkins, are you on Zoom? If you are, you're free to contribute. Otherwise, you may remain silent. All right. Ms. McLeod, any objection to the signature bond, the stay away and no contact?
Yes, Your Honor. I do not object to the signature bond. However, I object to the stay away. That is my client's home, and the alleged victim does not have, his name is not on the lease. This is her home where she lives with 2 minor children and 1 adult child. Those are her children, not his children. She is quite okay with the no further contact with this gentleman, but this is her home, so we would definitely object to any stay away.
And how do I reconcile that? No further contact with someone who lives there.
He does not live there, Your Honor. This is her home where she lives with her 3 children. She told me that he sometimes comes there, but this is her home. It's her name on the lease. His name is not on anything.
Okay. I have to do a stay away unless we verify that he does not live there, because otherwise I don't understand how it's a DB matter. Unless
I don't, but Your Honor, based on my discussions with my client, essentially they had kind of a friends with benefits relationship, and she does she tell me that she's pregnant by him, but she's also told me that she does not wish to have any further contact with him, and that this is her home where she lives with her 3 children, one of whom is 7 years old, another is 14, and an adult child.
All
So
right.
these children will be displaced if my client cannot go back to her own home.
All right.
Your
And
Honor,
yeah, do you have any information on whether Mr. Watkins lives there or does not live there? I mean, it's
okay, so it is conflicting. The warrant says they have been living together for more than 5 months. The warrant also says he was packing up his belongings to leave the house. So I think a solution would be a one-time law enforcement escort to see if he is still there. If he is not, she can retake possession of the home.
It's
bond is set at 3,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services. Ms. Holmes, you're going to be signing up for your bond. You won't have to pay for it at the present time, but upon your release, you must comply with the following conditions. First of all, is no further contact with Daryl Watkins. It's not his responsibility, it's your responsibility, since you're the one charged with the crime. You are required to stay 200 yards away from him and not communicate with him in any way, form, or manner. You may return to the 266 Tonawanda location in Atlanta, Georgia. The first visit must be with a police officer to verify that Mr. Watkins does not live there or reside there. If he's still residing there, you cannot return to that location until he vacates the premises. You may go to the location to retrieve your belongings and your children, and once he vacates the premises, you are entitled to return to the property. And that's basically because you are currently charged with the crime and that you are required to have no contact with Mr. Watkins, who is allegedly living there, according to the warrant. However, if he's not residing there based on your one-time visit with the police officer, you are definitely free to go back into the property. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearms. And while you are out on your signature bond, I'll require you to enroll in you need to put your hand down and pay attention. I'll give you a chance to speak. Within 60 days of being released on your signature bond, you must enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. And that would be a 24-week program, and I'll require you to show proof to the pretrial officer that you started the program and that you are attending said classes. All right? Okay, we can unmute courtroom 2. Ms. Holmes, as you see, you are charged with a battery family violence offense. You have a right to remain silent. Anything you choose to say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You will have an opportunity to speak with your attorney later on. So would you still like to proceed, or would you like to exercise your right to remain silent?
I had wanted to talk because I haven't been, I just moved in this house in October. So I haven't been in this house for no 5 months. For him to say we've been living there 5 months. And I have my lease. And my lease only have my name on there. It don't even have my kids' name on there. So he don't stay there, period.
Ms. Holmes, I think your attorney has explained that to me. So like I said, you're entitled to a one-time visit with a police officer. So as soon as you're released, you might want to go to the local police station and get a police escort to go back to the home. And if the officer verifies that Mr. Watkins does not live there, you may return into the home.
Okay.
Yeah.
But after, from this point onwards, you're to have no contact with him. Thank you. Next case, please.
Thank you, Honor.
Position number 13,
17, okay.
13-13.
13, all right. This is State versus Genesis Hood, 23 CR 7810H. And Ms. Hood is accused of 1 count of battery, family violence, and 2 separate counts of cruelty in the 3rd degree. This stems from a November 6, 2023 incident. Ms. Hood, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. McLeod. Is this a cross-defendant case?
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, I believe her mother is the alleged victim.
Right, Your Honor. Our office has represented the alleged victim previously. It's not a cross-defendant case.
All right, thank you.
And Your Honor, just to answer that a little bit more, there are 2 other individuals, but they are not here today as part of this case, but we believe warrants have been taken out for them.
Okay. With regards to Ms. Hood, this is a first arrest. Ms. Falk, do you have a recommendation?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened with both the daughter of Miss Brittany Hood, which is the defendant, the 19-year-old boyfriend of the defendant, O'Keefe Owens, and another young lady by the name of Lacaria Griffin, who no longer lives at that residence, but she had resided there for a period of about 6 months. So the victim is Brittany Hood, as well as her 12-year-old son, Addison AG, and 8-year-old AM, were all at that residence when the defendant, her daughter, had come home after joyriding in her vehicle. She began arguing with her mother because her mother demanded her car keys back. At that point, Mr. Owens, O'Keefe Owens, threw Miss Hood down to the floor, began hitting her. At some point, the defendant, her daughter, joined in and began kicking her in the side, along with Miss Griffin. At that time, her daughter at some point came back with a knife, yelling at her mother because she had gotten a hold of Mr. Owens' hair in self-defense and was holding onto his hair. At that time, the three of them yelled, "Let's go, the police are coming," broke off the assault and fled from the house. AG and AM were both present witnesses to the assault. We would recommend, given the circumstances of this case, Your Honor, we would recommend, being it is her first offense, a signature bond through pretrial services. We are going to ask for no further contact from Brittany Hood. We are also going to ask for no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, that Ms. Hood stay away from the co-defendants O'Keefe Owens and Lacaria Griffin, that she also have a family violence intervention program 24 weeks, given the nature of this offense. And finally, we are asking that she stay away from 183 Clare Drive Southeast and have no further contact with the two minor children, AG and AM.
Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 18 years old. She will be starting college in January, studying psychology. She tells me she's a high school graduate and she's gainfully employed. We do not object to the signature bond, but I must clarify some of the allegations on the record, Your Honor. My client vehemently denies that she attacked her mother or that she went for a joyride in her car. She tells me she has been paying the car note for some time because her mom essentially wanted her to take the car over, and she's been paying the car note for several months. It is essentially her car. When her mother became upset with her, she asked her to bring the car back. When she went back to the house, her mother essentially attacked her, and all the boyfriend was doing was just trying to stop her mother from attacking her. She said she actually had to get scissors and cut her boyfriend's locks to get her mother away from him. She had her hands in his head so hard. So it's all a matter of perspective. But she completely denies that she attacked her mother at all. And she does not mind having no further contact with her mother for the time being, as she's currently living with her grandmother. But she does plan to go to college in May come January.
Okay, thank you.
Your Honor, I would like to sound from Miss Brittany Hood. We did have an opportunity to speak with her, and she did state that they have had no contact since this incident. She wants to keep it that way and wants to no further contact and to stay away from her residence.
That is what my client wants as well. We're on the same page with that.
All right, Brittany Hood, if you're present, you need to unmute and start your video. All right. With regards to Genesis Hood, on the battery is going to be a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial. On each count of the cruelty is $750. The total bond is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial services. Her grandmother, and I need her name, would need to co-sign the bond.
She's employed, Your Honor. She's 18 years old. She's working.
I'm here, Judge.
All right, Miss Brittany Hood, I'll address you very shortly. Thank you. Please listen to the conditions of the bond. Exactly, Miss McLeod, she is going to college and she's working, but she's 18 years old. And I need her grandmother's name as a co-signer. So as soon as you have that name, you can put that in the chat to Mr. Howard with pretrial. So
I'll
the
have to ask my client, Your Honor, because I was under the impression that since she was employed, she would not need a cosigner.
no, she's 18, she needs a cosigner. She needs to have no further contact with Brittany Hood. She's to stay 200 yards away from Brittany Hood and the minors identified as AG and AM. She's not allowed to return to 183 Clare Drive in Atlanta, Georgia.
She will need, I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was going to say she needs, my client tells me that she has several things still at her mother's home, and she would like to have a one-time police escort to retrieve her belongings.
Okay, I'll address that shortly. She's not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and she is to report to pretrial once a month, and she can't afford to get arrested again. I would recommend, I do not know about O'Keefe Owens or Lakeria, what was her name, Griffin? But she's going to have to stay away from these alleged co-defendants, O'Keefe Owen and Lakeria Griffin, until further order of the court. So that's 5 individuals she'll have to stay away from. She'll need her grandmother to co-sign the bond. As soon as grandma comes down to pretrial to co-sign the bond, that's when she will be released. All right, Miss Brittany Hood, would you like to say something? I'll need to place you under oath.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
And how do you know Genesis Hood?
I'm her mother.
Okay. And do you still have the vehicle that was
Yeah.
the
Yes,
issue?
I do.
Okay. And is the vehicle in your name?
Yes, it is, Your
Oh.
Honor. She did not pay
No,
several
no,
months.
no. Please listen very
Okay.
carefully. Okay. So you are the one who is authorized to drive it, and you're the
Yes,
one
ma'am.
who's authorized to give permission to anybody else. Understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so that issue is settled as far as I'm
Okay.
concerned. The next thing is, does Genesis Hood have any belongings at your location?
No, ma'am. She came with a police escort and he stood inside the home while her and O'Keefe gathered their items.
And when was this done?
This was done the following day.
Okay, all right. So based on this information, Miss Genesis Hood is not permitted to return to 183 Clare Drive in Atlanta, Georgia. If she believes she has any other belongings, she can retrieve those after this case is resolved. Miss Brittany Hood, Miss Genesis Hood is not allowed back at your property, and she cannot communicate with you in any way, form, or manner. Is that understood?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. That concludes the case. Thank you.
Your Honor, the
Thank
state
you.
would ask about the one-day anger awareness or
Oh.
family violence intervention.
I'll require to do the 1-day anger awareness with pretrial, but she must report to pretrial every month until further order of the court.
Yes, sure.
Okay.
Can you get the grandmother's name while everybody's on here?
Right, I'm gonna need that.
Yeah. Genesis Hood, do you want to tell us your grandmother's name?
I actually stay with my father, so that's who would be needing to assist me in my co-signing.
I would need your father's full name and his address, and you need to provide that to the deputy.
Okay.
And he needs to bring an identity card or a driver's license to prove his identity to pretrial.
Okay. Do I tell the person that's right here?
Yes. All right. And deputy, if you can just put that information in the chat to Maureen McLeod and to pretrial.
We gotta go on the bond order too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put a bond.
And then Miss Genesis Hood, within 30 days of being released, you must confirm your mailing address with the court in writing, and you must make sure that that address matches your the person with whom you're living with, which I'm assuming is your father. All right. Miss Brittany Hood, do you have any information as to her father's name and address?
I don't know his address, but I do know his name is Marcel Baldwin.
Marcel Baldwin. Okay. All right. Thank you, Miss Hood. You're free to go. Next
Thank you.
case, Oh, can we do position, was it 15? In courtroom 3, please. Is that all right, Deputy, in courtroom 2?
Sure, go ahead, courtroom 3, you good.
All right, thank you. Ms. Lucio, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
All right, may I place you under oath? Do you solemnly swear and affirm the translation you provide will be a true and accurate one with no changes or embellishments?
I do.
Thank you. This is State versus Edsmel Lema Ojanos.
Este es el caso del estado de Georgia en contra del señor Edisemel Lesma Quijanos.
Mr. Ojanos is accused of DUI, driving under the influence of alcohol less safe, reckless driving, and violation of the license issue, being in possession of only an instructional or provisional license.
Las acusaciones en contra de usted son manejando embriagado bajo la influencia del alcohol, no seguro, manejando mal. También la siguiente acusación es no tener una licencia de conducir válida y solamente estar conduciendo con un permiso o de instrucción de manejo.
The alleged incident is from December 8th, 2023.
Este incidente ocurrió el 8 de diciembre del 2023.
And his case number is 23CR 78308.
Y el caso es el 23CR 7830A.
You have a right to remain silent about the facts of the case. Anything you say can and will be used against you.
Usted tiene el derecho de mantenerse en silencio. Cualquier cosa que usted diga el día de hoy en su caso o cualquier cosa que usted diga puede ser usado en contra suya.
You have a right to an attorney, and representing you is Ms. Hoda Atay.
Tiene el derecho a un abogado y le está representando a usted en este momento la señora Hoda Atay.
Ms. Falk, this is his second arrest. Any recommendations as to bond?
Yes,
Señora
Your Honor.
Falk, este es el segundo arresto y tiene alguna recomendación en cuanto al caso.
Your Honor, the bond is currently set at $9,500, $7,500 for the DUI and $1,000 for each of the remaining charges.
Su señoría, en este caso, el señor tiene una fianza de $9,500, de los cuales $7,500 son por el cargo de manejar bajo la influencia del alcohol y $1,000 por cada uno de los otros cargos.
The state's main concern here is that while the defendant was driving, he actually ran off the road, jumped a curb, and landed on top of two other vehicles in the parking lot of the DoubleTree at 1075 Holcomb Bridge Road in Roswell.
El problema, su señoría, que tiene el día de hoy la fiscalía es que este señor estaba manejando embriagado y se salió de la carretera, saltó por una barrera, por una vereda y cayó sobre dos automóviles que estaban estacionados en el hotel DoubleTree de la 1075 Holcomb Bridge Road en Roswell.
Officers noted that the defendant's eyes were red and watery, his speech was slurred, and they smelled the strong odor of alcohol in his breath, as well as the fact that he admitted to drinking 4 rum drinks prior to driving.
La policía, su señoría, observó que los ojos del señor estaban rojos, que no estaba hablando coherentemente, que estaba oliendo a alcohol y que cuando le preguntaron, él dijo que había tomado 4 bebidas de ron antes de manejar.
State's recommendation is a $5,000 surety bond on the DUI and a $500 surety bond on each of the remaining charges for a total of a $6,000 surety bond, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and no driving.
La recomendación de la fiscalía es un bono de $5,000 asegurado con dinero, más $500 por cada una de las acusaciones, lo cual llega a un total de un bono de $6,000 asegurado, no la prohibición de usar bebidas alcohólicas, no drogas, no armas durante el tiempo que está en probatoria y también el hecho de que tampoco no puede manejar sin una licencia de conducir válida.
And I forgot to mention the defendant only has a learner's permit from Florida.
Lo que dejé de mencionar es que el acusado tiene un permiso de manejo de la Florida.
Miss Atay?
Yes, Your Honor. My client works full-time at several different restaurants. He does deny the allegations. He states that he was tired and fell asleep. I saw that he was recommended a UJR. So I understand that there's concerns, and I would ask for a signature bond or a lower bond, maybe $1,000 on the DUI and the reckless driving, or a signature bond. He cannot afford a bond and does work to support family. He has a child. So I am requesting Your Honor to follow the recommendation and give him a signature bond. And you can impose, of course, any driving restrictions or a lower bond.
I'm not going to impose a restriction only. I guess the state is as well. On the DUI, it's going to be
Your Honor,
Yeah.
Your Honor, should I just translate the part?
Oh, I'm
of
so
the-
sorry. Yes, I forgot.
That's all right.
Yes.
Sorry to interrupt. Lo que se está sugiriendo la fiscalía es que se le dé, lo que su defensa está diciendo es que usted niega las alegaciones en contra suya y que usted alega que estaba cansado y por eso se estaba durmiendo, quedando dormido. Entonces, lo que ella pide es un bono de fianza únicamente con firma, no asegurado, y que bajar la cantidad del bono de fianza por el cargo de manejar bajo la influencia del alcohol. El señor trabaja 2 trabajos separados y necesita con eso mantener a su familia. Entonces no hay más recomendación en este momento aparte del bono de la fianza.
As I was saying, I'm not going to be the only one imposing a driving restriction. It's also going to be the state of Georgia and Florida.
No voy a ser yo quien imponga ninguna restricción de cuando maneje, de cuando salga de restricción en los bonos en la fianza. Eso va a depender del estado de la Florida y eso va a depender también del otro estado.
On the DUI charge, it's a $4,000 surety bond.
En el cargo de manejar bajo la influencia de alcohol, la fianza está en $4,000 con asegurada.
On reckless driving, it's a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial.
En manejar mal son $2,000 de una fianza confirmada por prejuicio, o sea, el departamento antes del juicio.
On the violation of driving with an instructional permit is a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial.
$1,000, un bono de fianza por medio de la oficina de derivación o antes de juicio.
This is a total $7,000 split bond.
Esto es una fianza dividida de un total de $7,000.
Once he was released on the bond, he must report to pretrial once a month.
Cuando lo dejen salir ya de la fianza, tiene que presentarse aún una vez al mes a la oficina de antejuicio, prejuicio.
He's not allowed to consume any alcohol and illegal drugs.
No tiene permiso para consumir ningún alcohol, ninguna droga ilegal.
And will be subject to random screens for alcohol and illegal drugs.
Y no va a estar sujeto a pruebas de orina para drogas sin anticiparle en cualquier momento.
He's also not allowed to drive at all until further order of the court.
Aparte, también no tiene permiso para manejar nada, ni siquiera un poquito, hasta que la corte le dé permiso para hacerlo.
He's to surrender all instructional permits or provisional licenses to the pretrial services.
Tiene que entregar cualquier licencia, media licencia o permiso de manejar a las oficinas de diversión ante juicio.
His next court date is December 21st at 9 a.m.
La siguiente fecha de corte que tiene usted es el 27 de diciembre a las 9 de la mañana.
If he makes bond, he must maintain a current mailing address with the court.
Si es que usted no pierde por lo de la fianza, tiene que mantener una dirección actualizada con el tribunal.
That concludes the case.
Y eso concluye el caso.
Thank
What
you.
was that total, Judge?
Four- 4,000 surety on count 1, 2,000 signature bond through pretrial on reckless driving, and 1,000 signature bond through pretrial on the instructional permit. Miss Lucia, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Your Honor. You have a good rest of your weekend.
You too. Thank you. Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Position 16.
This is Octavia Milan, charged with battery, family violence, simple battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree from October 18th, 2023. Case number is 23 CR 7812J. And Ms. Milan, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Paul Bartel. This is a first arrest. Ms. Falk, what's the state's recommendation?
Your Honor, this offense happened in Hateville, specifically at 3640 South Fulton Avenue in Hateville. Officers initially, upon arrival, saw neighbors and heard a woman screaming, "Get off me." They went inside the residence. They spoke with the victim, Mr. Kalan Baylark, who stated that he had come home from work and defendant had become angry. The 7-year-old stepson, whose name we do not have, was present as well. They began arguing, and at some point, the defendant grabbed him and began scratching at him and pulling his hair. Officers observed bloody scratches to Baylark's left arm, left half of his neck and throat, and on his face. And they did have the juvenile, who stated he could hear arguing, and he saw the defendant pulling at Baylark's hair as Baylark tried to exit the bedroom. The defendant would not cooperate with officers and did not have any injuries that the officers could observe, so she was taken into custody. The defendant is currently pregnant. We have had an opportunity to speak with Mr. Baylark. Mr. Baylark's position on this case, Your Honor, is that the two of them do reside together, as well as we did not have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Baylark, so we would like to sound for him, but the two of them do reside in the same household according to the information in the warrant. The state's recommendation on this case is pretrial services, signature bond through pretrial services. As to all counts, we would also recommend family violence intervention program, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And I would like to hear from Mr. Baylark regarding any contact before we make a recommendation as to contact or a stay away.
I see a Kalen iPhone present. I think he was in vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
You
Yes,
need to
ma'am.
start your video, sir.
Present. I tried to start the video. It stopped. Hold on.
Mr. Jordan, if you can send the prompt.
Hello?
Yes, Mr. Baylark, if
Yes,
you'd like
yes, I'm here.
to, if you'd like to say anything, I'll need to place you under oath.
Well, I would like to start off with the police really.
Well, let's start off with placing you under oath. Are you driving?
Say that again.
Are you
No,
driving?
I'm not driving.
All right, raise your right hand. I need to place you under oath. Do you solemnly swear the information you provide will be
Yes.
to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any concerns about Miss Milan returning to the home with you?
This is our house and everything's cordial and fine there. The police misconstrued everything and pretty much put their own story on it. So like
Okay.
this really needs to be dismissed because it was what they explained was a lie. So
All right. And all right. Thank you very much, Mr. Baylor.
you're welcome, Your Honor.
All right.
And Your Honor, given those circumstances, the state would ask for no further violent contact at this time, given that this did happen approximately 2 months ago and she has no history.
All right.
And we would not disagree with the recommendation, Your Honor. We'd ask for a signature bond and no further violent contact.
On the battery offense, it's going to be a $2,500 signature bond through pretrial, and the remaining two charges are going to be $500 each. Total bond is $3,500. Signature bond through pretrial services. Ms. Milan, you can sign up for your bond today. You'll be released within 24 hours, but you must comply with the following conditions in order to maintain your signature bond. No further violent contact with Kaylin Baylor. No further violent contact with any minor children that reside in the same home. You may return to the South Fulton Avenue location. You must attend and complete a one-day anger awareness program with the pretrial services, and you're not to consume any alcohol, no illegal drugs, and not be in possession of any weapons. Your next court date will be sent to your current mailing address. Thank you.
What was that total?
3,500, 2,500 on count one, 500 on the each on the remaining charges.
Okay. Thank you, Judge.
Position number 17.
This is Renaria Mincy, accused of giving false information to an officer. Case number 23 CR 7813F. Allegation offense date is December 8th, 2023. This is her second arrest, Ms. Falk. What's the recommendation?
And let me just, if I may.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at to see what her first arrest was. I'm actually not showing a first arrest. Pretrial, can you let me know what the first arrest was on this?
Hold on.
Ms. Mincy,
Maybe
and I have a
missing
2019.
robbery.
Yeah.
Hold on for a minute. I don't know what they're doing. Hold on. Stay on today.
But I think I heard 2019. So we'll just go forward with our recommendation given the age of the first arrest.
Yeah, it's out of Montana, 2019 robbery.
Okay. So the state's recommendation on this one is a signature bond through pretrial services. The defendant gave a false name of Jamelia Blunt and a false date of birth of 8/3/2020. Well, excuse me, 8/3/2000. It took the officers about an hour to actually verify her real name and date of birth. And this was because the officers were running her information because she was trespassing at 1211 Moreland Avenue at the time of her arrest. The state would recommend that signature bond through pretrial services. She stay away from 1211 Moreland Avenue, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. And 1211 Moreland Avenue, Your Honor, is the Popeyes at that address.
Miss Atay, I don't have any objection with putting a signature bond. I don't see any holds, so all I need her to do is confirm her mailing address. Would that be all right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Mincy, your bond is going to be $2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services. You cannot return to the Popeyes at 1211 Moreland Avenue in Atlanta, Georgia. You know exactly where it is, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And within 30 days of being released, you must come back to court and confirm your mailing address in writing with the court, and we will send you notice of when to come back to court. You do have an open matter in Montana, so I hope you resolve that as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Sound good?
All good.
Position 23.
Angelique Tigner is accused of false report of a crime from November 14th, 2023. The case number is 23 CR 7817C. Ms. Tigner, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. Mr. Howard,
45 total.
any
She got
open
violent
case?
history. She on probation, ag assault, possession of a firearm during the commission, possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. She got a lot of violence in her history.
All right, Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident actually happened back in November 14th of 2023. Ms. Tigner called police and told them she had been carjacked at around 8:30 p.m. And the way she gave context to this is that she'd been carjacked. She got into a vehicle with an older man, tried to follow the vehicle, and then immediately got out and called 911 when they lost track of the vehicle. She stated this all happened around the same time. Well, officers looked at video in that area and saw that 4 hours before she made that call that she had been carjacked, a vehicle had been involved. Her vehicle had been involved in a hit and run accident at that location. They tried to pin Miss Tigner down about her story. Her story kept changing. First, she said she got into a car with an older man. Then she stated she didn't. The time frame was off from when the officers saw the vehicle in that hit and run. She then claimed a friend of hers had used her car and other people were allowed to use her car. She then claimed that one of those people carjacked her. It's all very confusing. Needless to say, this incident, she has also done this in a previous instance in July of 2023, where she stated that that same individual, Andre Reynolds, had carjacked her then, and that he had taken her vehicle and run away with it. In that instance, the officers also found out that there was a hit and run that happened on that same date, and that the defendant had fled, another individual had fled from her vehicle at that time. So this is actually the second time she is reported being carjacked when there was a hit and run previous to her report of a carjacking. The state's recommendation on this is going to be a $2,500 surety bond. We're going to ask that she have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. There's no other provisions that we would require at this time.
Ms. Atay?
Yes, Your Honor. My client denies the allegation. She is being charged here just for the false report, not any hit and run or anything like that. So I am asking, she's recommended UJR 3. I'm asking for a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. Again, this charge is just for a false report.
Okay. Bond is set at $1,000. It's a surety bond. Next court date is December 21st. If she does make bond, then she'll need to make sure that we have a current mailing address on her. No illegal drugs, no weapons, and no firearms. Thank you. Next case, please.
Order, we'll have to deliver.
Number 9, position number 9.
Ms. McLeod, this I believe is Ms. McLeod still with us?
I'm here, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. This is Ronald Dorsey, accused of loitering and prowling with co-defendant Brandy Burnett at the Atlantic Heights apartments at 300 Deering Road, case number 23 CR 7823A. Mr. Dorsey has been advised of his right to remain silent, and his attorney is Ms. McLeod. Any objection to the same bond, Ms. Falk?
No, Your Honor. The defendant actually was transferred, had a family violence battery arrest that was transferred up to the DA's office as a felony, and is showing no bond on that case. I'm not sure if they have addressed his case in felony court and have issued a bond on that or not.
All right. On this present charge, Ms. McLeod is going to be $1,000 signature bond through the jail, and he's to stay away from the Atlantic Loring Heights apartment complex at 300 Deering Road. No alcohol, no drugs, and no weapons. And this case will be put on notice.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Next case, please.
Oh, Your Honor, we also did request stay away from the co-defendants for Miss Anderson, so we would request it for Mr. Dorsey as well.
All right, so stay away from
It was
Brandy Barnett and what was it,
Amir
Mr.
Ross.
Ross? Amir Ross, okay. Is this Amir Ross?
That's correct, Judge.
All right. Mr. Ross is also accused of loitering and prowling and the Atlantic Lowering Heights, and his case number is 23 CR 7815Y. No, he's accused of theft by receiving stolen property, not loitering and prowling, excuse me. And this is from December 29th, 2022. So he wasn't accused of loitering and prowling along with Miss Barnett and Mr. Dorsey?
That is correct, Your Honor. And actually, let me take a look at this because I do not recall this case being connected, but when the PD said it was, I just assumed maybe they had additional information that I was not aware of. But
I think I'm sorry, Your Honor. I was told that Mr. Ross was arrested as well. I've got Odyssey up.
I just I was a little confused. Why was he a court? But he doesn't have this charge on him. He doesn't have an open case with regards to loitering and prowling. So we'll just proceed with Mr. Ross.
I've actually got a case number, but it's a CP case. It's date of offense is December 8th of this year, and it's a loiter and prowling. It looks like there's possession of tools for commission of a crime, so that may be why it's in Superior Court.
And entering auto, Your Honor. That is, okay, so there are co-defendants in this case. One of them is in felony division. We, just to let the court know, I mean, it's irrelevant at this moment, but we are probably going to ask that the remaining two co-defendants that we just addressed today be upgraded to join Mr. Ross's case since he's up in the DA's office.
Well, let now redress his theft by receiving stolen property warrant from December 29, 2022. And I understand that this is, Mr. Ross does have a right to remain silent as advised, and his attorney is Ms. McLeod presently. And Ms. McLeod, just to not convolute the matter, but we are addressing only one misdemeanor charge of theft by receiving stolen property.
That's my understanding, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, and Mr. Howard, Mr. Ross's history?
20 total. Last arrest was in January. Theft by receiving. Got a few probation violations in his history, FTA, and a 2015 entering auto NOLO was the.
What was the incident date for the theft by receiving from last year? If you have,
they could say January 28th of this year.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Ms. Falk, what's the recommendation for Mr. Ross?
So, Your Honor, this incident happened December 29th, 2022. The defendant had pawned on December 30th, 2022, pawned the cell phone belonging to Naomi Bing, her iPhone 13 Pro, at the Eco ATM at Kroger at 2685 Metropolitan Parkway Southwest. The Miss Bing stated her phone was stolen out of her vehicle on December 29th, the day before 2022, and she noticed her vehicle had been ransacked when she came outside. Being that the defendant does have currently no bond for entering auto, possession of tools, and a $2,500 surety bond for the loitering and prowling on the 23 CP case, the state is agreeable to a signature bond on this case since he will not be going anywhere on his remaining cases.
It's $1,000 signature bond through the jail.
No objection, Your Honor.
No contact with Naomi Bing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Your Honor, we'd also ask that he stay away from that Kroger at Metropolitan Parkway.
Well,
I don't think that's necessary. It's a grocery store.
I'm just going to go with a no contact. Thank you.
And no alcohol, drugs, or weapons?
Yes, that's pretty standard.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, I have courtroom 2. Who do we have?
Got position 6, call.
Calm. Okay. This is State versus Carlos Cobb, case number 23 CR 7829F. And Mr. Cobb has been accused of two counts of simple battery and 1 count of battery. Ms. Falk, this is his first arrest. What's your recommendation? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Cobb, your attorney is Ms. Atay, and you have been advised of your right to remain silent. Ms. Falk? Oh, I'm sorry, you're on mute.
Thank you, Your Honor. This incident happened at 970 Mansell Road in Roswell, at the Walmart at that location. The juvenile who his name is TJ, was coming out of the location with Gloria Headley, who's his grandmother. They were checking out. They were then approached by 2 black males who were trying to fight TJ. Ms. Headley stated that she and several other bystanders tried to get the males to leave them alone, but after some time they attacked TJ. A large scuffle began with the 2 males eventually running out of the store. Ms. Headley was pushed by the 2 male suspects, one of whom was Mr. Cobb, the defendant. Another individual, Howard Smith, who's an employee at the Walmart, said he also observed these 2 males going after TJ, tried to step in, stop the fight. They then began attacking him, and one of them punched him in the face. And there is video that corresponds to this where officers were able to observe a juvenile and the defendant attacking TJ and circling around him for about 5 minutes and trying to start a brawl, as well as pushing and hitting bystanders. The state's recommendation on this one, Your Honor, is going to be we're going to recommend a $2,000 surety bond, $1,000 on the battery, $500 on each of the simple batteries. We're also going to ask that he stay away from Howard Smith, Gloria Headley, and minor TJ. Furthermore, we're going to ask for no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and we are going to request that he take some sort of anger management courses given the nature of this offense. I'm not sure the age of Mr. Cobb. It appears that he is 18 years of age as 19 years of age at this time. So we would not ask for any other things. And let me just check the time
He
of this.
just had a birthday, so it's
Right.
either 18 or 19.
Right. And we are not going to ask for any kind of curfew. This happened at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but we would ask that he stay away from the Walmart at 970 Mansell Road. And we would like the sound for Miss Headley.
Oh, okay. Miss Gloria Headley? All right, Miss Atay?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is only 19 years old. I did see that possibly a co-signer was requested, and his stepmother is on the call and happy to co-sign for him. He has no history, so I am requesting a signature bond, and it can be through pretrial with an anger awareness, but my client does deny the allegations. He states that an older boy was trying to fight his 16-year-old brother who he was with at the store. And to me, the warrant is unclear about it was a scuffle and people who were trying to break the fight up were hit or pushed, but it's unclear that my client did anything. So he does deny the allegations, states that it were friends from his or classmates of his brothers were at the Walmart. So I am going to request, since he has no history, he's 19 years old, he has a 1-year-old child and another child on the way. He does not have enough money for a bond, so I'm requesting a signature bond, and it can be through pretrial with
Thank you. On the battery is going to be a $3,000 signature bond. Each count of the simple battery is $1,000. The total bond is $5,000, signature bond through pretrial services. Mr. Jordan, this is going to be a level 2. Mr. Cobb, you can sign up for your bond, but you must comply with the following conditions. If you do not comply, you will be arrested again. And next time you come back to jail, make sure you bring $5,000 with you. Presently, you are to stay 200 yards away from the Walmart at 970 Mansell Road. You're not to return to that location. You are to also stay away and have no contact with Howard Smith, Gloria Hadley, and the minor TJ. You are to not communicate with them in any way, form, or manner. I'll let you speak. You're not to communicate with them in any way, form, or manner, and you're to stay 200 yards away from all three individuals. You are not to try to communicate with them even through a third party or even on social media. You will report to pretrial twice a month. So you must make sure that you report twice a month and that you do not fail to report, you do not get arrested again, and that you come to court when summoned. So within 30 days of being released, you must confirm your mailing address with the court. If you change your address, you need to let the court know immediately what is your new address in writing. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and no firearm. And since you're old enough to be a father, I'm not going to require you to have a co-signer. However, you should actually have one, but I'm going to dispense with it at the present time. So don't give me any reason in the future to have one imposed on you. Yes, we can unmute. Mr. Cobb, you've already been advised of your right to remain silent. The reason we do that so that you do not jeopardize your case or make it difficult for your attorney to defend you. Would you like to exercise your right to remain silent?
Mr. Cobb, I have said everything that needs to be said. I do recommend that you don't say anything. You have a signature bond.
All right. In that case, this case is concluded. Thank you.
Position number 10 is Nate.
This is State versus David Floyd, accused of battery and theft by taking. Case number is 23CR 7808G. And this is from a December 8th, 2023 incident. Mr. Floyd, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Bartell. Mr. Howard?
17 total. 2022 financial transaction card theft and fraud. On probation for that and burglary out of the cab. Also on probation for robbery. Got a 2020 battery conviction. Obstruction conviction 2014. That's all.
Right. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. This happened on December 8th, 2023. Officers were dispatched to 1870 Myrtle Drive Southwest E6 in Atlanta. They spoke with Ms. Roberts, who stated that she invited the defendant over for drinks. After a couple of drinks, the defendant asked if he could stay at the residence. She said no. It led to a verbal dispute. At that point, the defendant struck Ms. Roberts multiple times with a closed fist to the face, back, and thighs, and kicked Ms. Roberts out of her apartment, took her phone and her keys, and told her to grab him a beer. Ms. Roberts went to a neighbor's house and hid until the officers arrived. Officers saw that Ms. Roberts suffered a swollen left cheek, laceration under her nose, and pain in her upper left back and left thigh. While on the scene, the defendant did return to the location with the beer and was identified by Ms. Roberts as the individual who attacked her. We did have an opportunity to speak with Ms. Jason Roberts, and she did indicate that, hold on, let me just get to that part of my notes. She did indicate that she met the defendant a month ago. They were friends. The defendant physically assaulted her 3 weeks before this incident, and she did not call the police. She confirmed the events in the warrant and stated she does fear the defendant, and the defendant called her approximately 8 times from the jail last night. Ms. Roberts stated she would like a no contact, anger management, and stay away from her residence, which is 1870 Myrtle Drive Southwest. We would like to sound for Ms. Roberts, and the state is asking for a $5,000 surety bond. No further contact with Ms. Jason Roberts. Stay away from 1870 Myrtle Drive Southwest, apartment E6. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We are also asking for some sort of anger management or family violence intervention program. I know this is not a family violence offense, but we do have some concerns given the history of this defendant, including a previous battery conviction. We are also asking, I believe we covered no contact and stay away. So that is all for the state.
Jason Lamar Robert, if you like to contribute, you are free to unmute and start your video. All right, Mr. Bartell.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have spoken with Mr. Floyd and reviewed what information is available on this case. He does disagree that he assaulted Ms. Robert in any way, shape, or form. I'd advised him that an evidentiary hearing or trial, to which he would have a right to, would happen on some other day. I am advised that he is employed, Your Honor. He works with First Step Employment Agency. I'm advised that's more or less a full-time job. And he also indicates he has a 7-year-old child in the Atlanta area. He also has his mother and aunt and uncle and all of his cousins live in the metro Atlanta area. So he is employed. He does have ties to the community. He is wanting to ask the court for a signature bond. We did not receive the pretrial services reports. I believe it was too much information to try to email, but I'm not aware of hearing about any history of family violence charges. So given all that, he is wanting to ask for a signature bond. If the court is not inclined to grant a signature bond, we would ask for a $1,500 good bond. He's just got the one battery charge. And in terms of any classes, we would not object to an anger awareness class, but given that he's not been convicted, certainly not in this case, and I'm not aware of any family violence convictions, I think the whole 24-week DVIP would be unduly burdensome at this point in the proceedings. He does indicate that he has another place where he can stay, so there would not be an issue with a no further contact order.
All right.
Your Honor, just to clarify, the defendant was convicted of battery on October 3rd of 2023 in DeKalb County Superior Court. It's connected to a robbery conviction where he received 10 years with 1 year to serve. So that happened literally about a month and a half before this event.
On the battery charge, the bond is going to be set at $5,000, and it's a surety bond or a cash bond. Either one would be fine. And on the theft by taking is $1,000. The total bond is $6,000. Its case is reset to December 21st. No further contact with Jason Lamar Robert to stay away from 1870 Myrtle Drive in Southwest Atlanta. He is not permitted a one-time visit to that location. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And we'll see him on the 21st. If he does bond out, he must make sure that he maintains a current mailing address with the court at all times. So within 30 days of being bonded out, he must update the court with his new mailing address since he's not allowed to live at the Myrtle Drive location. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge Law, is that a surety bond or a cash bond? Which one is it?
It's a surety bond.
All right, thank you. Next is position number 21.
Ms. Atay, you've waived a couple of appearances, including 27. Any other cases?
I don't 27. I've waived 25. Yes, 27 and 24.
So 24, 25, and 27. Okay.
Yes.
This is State versus Jamara Stevens. Are you Mr. Stevens? Okay. Case number is 23 CR 7816B, accused of simple assault and disorderly conduct from December 8th, 2023. Mr. Stevens, says you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. This is his first arrest. Ms. Paul?
Yes, Your Honor. This incident happened on the 8th at 11042 Alpharetta Highway in Roswell, which is the address is the Catherine at that location. I believe it's an apartment complex. The incident happened where he began yelling at Morgan Hall, the property manager at that location, and began throwing items in her direction, including a nutcracker, broke a glass ashtray, and told her to watch her back because he is really crazy. He began also throwing chairs and kicked several boxes, which is the basis of this charge. This is the defendant's first offense. We would ask for a signature bond through pretrial services that he stay away from the Catherine at 1102 Alpharetta Highway in Roswell. They have no further contact with Morgan Hall. He have 1 day anger awareness, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons. We would like to sound for Miss Morgan Hall if she is here. And just to clarify, it was a glass candy dish and not a ashtray.
All right. Ms. Atay, does your client live there?
Yes, Your Honor. My client does live at that apartment complex. He was working at the leasing office, so we would object to a stay away so that he can return to his home. Of course, he will not be returning to the leasing office and is fine with no further contact with the complaining witness. I am asking, I mean, he's 33 years old and he has absolutely no criminal history, no arrests. So I am asking for a signature bond through the jail. He does deny the allegations as stated in the warrant. And
Okay.
that's all.
Morgan Hall, if you are present, please unmute and start your video. I see there's someone by the name of Guest. Are you Morgan Hall? Going once, going twice? Okay. On the simple assault, that's going to be a $2,500 signature bond. All right. This person, I don't know, Miss Falk, do you think that's Morgan Hall?
Yeah, this is me.
All right. You need to stop moving and start your video, please.
Okay.
All right. Miss Hall,
Video
do you want
started.
to address the court?
Hi.
Hi. You need to be seated, please. Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Okay. So, Jamar Stevens, is he employed at your leasing office?
He was.
Okay. And is his residency at the apartment complex a condition to his employment?
Yes.
All right. And is your company planning to file a dispossessory action?
So I'm not the property manager. The property manager, she is on the call.
Okay.
So I'm not sure of the next steps. I do know that his
Who is the
resident,
property manager?
her name is Emma Venegas.
I don't see her on the Zoom. Is she another guest? Okay, you're on mute, so I'm not sure. All right.
She's on here. I don't know the process. Like
What's
I
her
said,
name?
her name's Emma Venegas.
Emma Venegas, if you are present on Zoom, please start your video and unmute yourself. Okay. Anything else you'd like to tell me, Ms. Hall?
Not really. Just no further contact. I don't want him to come around me or my residence. Yeah, I do know that he's here until I believe the 15th, and then he was told to move off of property. So other than that, no. No further violent contact, no further contact at all.
So you live on the property as well?
Yes.
And how close do you live to Mr. Stevens' unit?
He's in the building across from me.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Mr. Stevens, your bond on the simple assault is $2,500. On the disorderly conduct is $1,000. Your total bond is $3,500, and that's going to be a signature bond through pretrial. You are to have no further contact with Morgan Hall and the staff members working at the Catherine. You are to no further contact with Morgan Hall and no further violent contact with the staff at the Catherine. You may continue to reside at your unit until either you voluntarily vacate the premises or if the apartment complex decides to file a dispossessory action against you. You are not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons, and you're to report to pretrial once a month. And if you change your address, you need to make sure you let the court know in writing about your change of address. Please remove Ms. Guest Morgan Hall from the Zoom so she can continue her cigarette. Thank you.
Your Honor, we are also requesting that 1-day anger awareness.
Okay. Mr. Stevens, I'll require you to complete a 1-day anger awareness from with pretrial services. Please be sure that you do not avoid getting arrested again, because if you are arrested or you do not report to pretrial or you do not come to court when summoned, your signature bond will be revoked. Thank you.
Number 26, Wilson.
Mr. Edward Wilson is accused of battery in case 23 CR 7819E from December 9th, 2023. Mr. Wilson, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Ms. Atay. Mr. Howard?
23 total. 2022 failure to appear. 2021 ag assault battery. On probation in Gwinnett for ag assault. Got a 2021 arrest in Vegas for battery. 2021 trespass conviction. 2020 battery conviction. 2020 domestic battery conviction. 26.
That's good. Thank
All
you. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. He also has a foreign hold from Gwinnett County. He currently is on first offender on that aggravated assault out of Gwinnett County from 2022. So I believe it may be connected to a probation revocation in that county. The incident here was that the defendant punched Mr. Wesley Marcellus by striking him in the mouth with a closed fist. Mr. Marcellus suffered a swollen lip with discoloration and had to be taken to Emory Hospital because of a possible shoulder injury. And this was due to a fight that happened at the residence at 1346 Easton Street, where he was asked not to smoke in the house. This appears to have been a roommate situation, but we cannot be completely sure based on the facts in the warrant. The state would ask to sound for Mr. Wesley Marcellus, but the state is also asking for a $3,000 surety bond. We are asking for no further contact with Mr. And his name is Marcellus Wesley, as well as no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and a stay away from that location at 1346 Eason Street Northwest. We did have an opportunity to speak with Mr. Wesley. He stated they were roommates for less than a month. This is the first incident they had, and he did confirm the events in the warrant. That is all, and did ask for no contact and a stay away. That's all for the state.
Mr. Wesley? Oh, if you're present, you need to unmute. All right. Ms. Atay?
Yes, Your Honor. My client is 41 years old. He has 2 children, ages 12 and 8, that he cares for. He does work, but he doesn't make any money. He had just started a new job 3 weeks ago. He is a U.S. Navy veteran. He suffers from PTSD. He does deny the allegations. He does live there, so I would ask for a no further violent contact. He's recommended for a UJR level 2, so I would ask for a signature bond through pretrial services level 2. He can take anger awareness, but I am requesting a signature bond.
Right. Bond is set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Wesley Marcellus or Marcellus Wesley. Stay away from 1346 Eason Street in Northwest Atlanta. He's allowed a one-time visit with a police officer to retrieve his personal belongings. And then after that, he must update the court with his new mailing address. His next court date is going to be December 21st.
And Your Honor, what was that bond amount again?
$1,500 surety bond. If he does make bond, it will only be a release to the hold in Gwinnett County. Thank you.
Number 4.
This is Shedrick Dwayne Cade. 4 separate counts of cruelty to animals from December 7th, 2023. Mr. Cade, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Mr. Bartel. I understand this is his second arrest. A prior incident was from 1999. Ms. Folk, I've already read the warrants. What's the recommendation?
Your Honor, given that this incident occurred and just 2 days ago and involved apparently a number of animals, including 5 dogs, which is what we have charged in our accusation is the cruelty against those animals. The state's recommendation is going to be and let me just, excuse me, double check the number of counts, is going to be a $4,000 surety bond. We're asking for $1,000 per count, that the defendant is not to own any animals of any type, for any reason during the period of this bond. We are also asking that he have no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, and that is all for the state.
Mr. Bartel?
Yes, Your Honor. I have spoken with Mr. Cade. He does disagree with some of the allegations in the warrants as to the exact conditions that are alleged. He does indicate that all of the animals in question have been surrendered to animal control. As indicated, this is only his second arrest. He is 59 years old, and he's lived in the Atlanta area since 2005. I'm advised that he's employed full-time. He works as a benefits coordinator for the Atlanta Food Community Bank, so he does serve the community in that regards. He has family in the metro Atlanta area, including his cousins and his sister. So he is gainfully employed serving the community, and he has ties to the community. I was advised that there was not a good relationship with his landlord. I'm advised that he had been renting this property for about 13 years and was recently not allowed to renew the lease for a fixed time period. He's on a month-to-month because the landlord was wanting to sell the property, which in fact is what happened. That's why he had to live in a hotel while he was making arrangements for all these animals. But as I said, they have been all surrendered to animal control. And given all of that, we would ask for a signature bond. Would not have any issue with a condition of him not having any other animals. And if the court's not inclined to grant a signature bond, we would ask for a $500 bond on each charge. So that would be $2,000 total.
And is he still living at the hotel in question, according to the warrant?
I believe he is, Your Honor. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Bond is going to be set at $1,500 on each count. That's a total of a $6,000 signature bond for pretrial services. Mr. Cade is not to own any animals at any time of any type, any variety, and he's to stay away from the 1440 Claremont Avenue, Atlanta, Georgia location. Within 30 days of being released on a signature bond, he is to update the court with his current mailing address. He cannot return to that location. He can go to that location one time only to remove his personal belongings, and that must be with a police officer. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And he'll report to, once he gives us his current mailing address, he'll make sure that he has to make sure he reports to court when summoned, as well as to report to pretrial once a month. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor.
Position 14.
I heard 14, is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes. This is state versus, Carlos King, accused of battery, family violence, from December 8th, 2023. His case number is 23 CR 7811Y. Mr. King, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is.
Your Honor, that would be a conflict case, so I believe Ms. McLeod would have that.
All right, Ms. McLeod, all right.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Howard, with regards to Mr. King's
8th arrest. Last arrest was 2019 for a capital offense. It was dismissed. 2014 criminal attempt to commit a felony, first offender. 2010 probation. 2009 theft by taking conviction. This was level 2.
Thank you. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. The incident that occurred here happened on December 8th. It involved Miss Shakita Hickson, who stated she was punched in the head by the defendant when he accused her of taking his tablet, which she later found behind the table. Officers did observe a visible abrasion to the top left side of Miss Hickson's head. And while she was being transported to Grady, she began seizing, potentially due to a head injury. We have just double check this. We would like to sound for Miss Hickson. We did have an opportunity to speak with her. She stated they were together for 2 months, have no children, do not reside together. She stated that he assaulted her a day before this incident and confirmed the events in the warrant. She also stated that she often suffers from seizures, but she did also state she wants a no contact and a stay away from her residence, which is 1133 Oak Knoll Terrace Southeast. We are asking for a $3,000 surety bond on this case. No further contact with Miss Shakita Hickson. Stay away from 1133 Oak Knoll Terrace Southeast. No alcohol, drugs, or weapons.
Ms. Hickson, if you're on the Zoom and if you'd like to address the court, please unmute and start your video.
And Your Honor, I will say the report does say, even though she said they did not reside together, the report actually does say they have resided at that location together since July of 2023.
Noted in the warrant. Thank you. Ms. McLeod?
Yes, Your Honor. I have not actually had a chance to speak with Mr. King, unfortunately.
Okay. Would you like an opportunity? I can take
I would, Your Honor. Yes.
Deputy, can Ms. McLeod call into the jail so that she may speak to Mr. King?
Yes, she can.
All right. You have the information, Ms. McLeod? Okay. Next case, please.
We can go ahead and do position number 19.
Okay. This is State versus Andrew O'Brien, 23 CR 7814D, accused of theft by shoplifting from October 26, 2023. Mr. O'Brien, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is going to be Ms. Atay. This is his second arrest. Ms. Falk, what's your recommendation for the shoplifting charge?
Yes, Your Honor. If you can just give me a moment. Okay, so this incident happened at the Home Depot at 870 Woodstock Road in Roswell. So we are going to be asking for a stay away from that location. And this happened back on October 26th. The defendant and another gentleman tried to take off with a smart home lighting equipment, which they placed in a bag and then took off running and then dropped the bag while they were running away from that location. There were photographs and video in that area, and the loss prevention officer was able to confirm that it was the defendant who was one of the individuals. State's recommendation is a signature bond through pretrial services, stay away from the Home Depot at 870 Woodstock Road in Roswell, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, in an anti-theft course.
Bond will be set at $2,000 signature bonds for pretrial and to stay away from the Home Depot at 871 Woodstock Road. No illegal drugs, no weapons, no firearms. Next court date will be sent to his current address. If he changes his address, he needs to let the court know in writing. Any objection, Ms. Atay?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. Next case, please.
The next case is number 22.
This is Derico Swanson, accused of battery family violence from November 3rd, 2023. Mr. Swanson's case is 23 CR 7796D. He has been advised of his right to remain silent, and his attorney is going to be Ms. Atay. I understand this is his third arrest. What were the other two, Mr. Howard?
Assault. Not bad. 2021 ag assault strangulation battery. That is open. 23 SC 190240. And the other one was 2013 possession of marijuana.
Right. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. The 2021 case, it appears to have, it says it occurred in Atlanta. I'm actually looking at the case. The case number is 23 SC 190240. And that case is charged with aggravated assault with the intent to commit strangulation, and possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony. They all involve Kyamisha Swanson, who was, it looks like, I'm not sure what the relationship was. It doesn't actually state it in the indictment. This incident happened on November 3rd at 210 Auburn Avenue. Officers went to that location, saw considerable damage to an apartment door, met with Quanisha Wiggles, who stated that her ex-boyfriend had come to the location, started a physical altercation with her, dragged her by the hair, struck her during the altercation. She had a small laceration to her right hand and was not transported to the hospital. She also stated that there was an eyewitness to this, Miss Legend Jackson, who also tried to break up this incident, as well as her daughter, A.W. The officers did pull up a picture, and she was able to identify that the defendant was the person who attacked her. Just, if I may, we did have a conversation with Miss Wiggles. She stated that she and the defendant are no longer in a relationship. They don't live together anymore, and they do not share children. She confirmed the events in the warrant and stated she has not had any contact with him since this incident. Although she is okay with having contact, the state is not. We are asking for a $5,000 cash bond on this, given that the defendant has an open aggravated assault case that appears to be with someone who shares the same name as him. So we believe it to be family violence in nature. We also would ask for a stay away order from 210 Auburn Avenue, apartment 302, no alcohol, drugs, or weapons, no further contact with Quanisha Wiggles, and that he take an FVIP course as part of his conditions of bond. We would like to sound for Ms. Wiggles at this time.
Ms. Quanisha Wiggle, I do see that you are on the Zoom. If you'd like to address the court, please unmute and start your video. Otherwise, we'll move on. All right, Ms. Atay?
Yes, Your Honor. My client denies the allegations. The 2021 case is an open case. He is presumed to be innocent of those charges. He's fine with the stay away. He's not in contact with Miss Wiggles or the no further contact with Miss Wiggles. I'm not sure about the address, but they don't live together. As long as it's not his home address, we're fine with the stay away. And I am requesting a signature bond. And I understand that he has the open case, but again, he is presumed innocent of those charges.
All right. Don't see a no contact with regards to the open case. This is a Kyamisha Swanson, so that you're correct with that. All right. Bond's going to be set at $10,000. It's a surety bond. No further contact with Quanisha Wiggle to stay away from the 210 Auburn Avenue location in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Mr. Swanson, once you make bond, you need to update the court with your current mailing address. Please be sure to stay 200 yards away from Miss Wiggle. You're not to communicate with her in any way, form, or manner. Thank you. Oh, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons too. Thank you. Next case.
Can we do the breakout number 5? Can we do a breakout case?
All right. Ms. Atay, can you let me know which one is the breakout case?
The breakout, I believe the breakout that I requested.
Was it for 24, 25, or 27? I thought they were waiver of appearances.
Yes, they are.
All right. So which one's the breakout case?
Position number 5 was a breakout case, I know for sure.
Right. I requested a breakout room for Ms. Corday.
Corday, okay. This is State versus Laverne Corday, accused of battery from December 8th, 2023, in case number 23 CR 007824G. Corday, please hold for a minute while your attorney has a separate conference with the court. Mr. Jordan, if you could place Ms. Folk, me, Mr. Bartel into a breakout, please.
Excuse me, I have a question.
They'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
All right, with regards to Laverne Corday, after a sidebar with the attorneys involved, the Ms. Corday's case is going to be reset to December 21st at 11 a.m. Bond is set at $2,000. It's going to be a surety bond, no contact with Michelle McClary, no illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Judge.
Ms. Corday, your attorney and the social worker will be in touch with you and to discuss your case with you. Thank you. Miss Debbie, is it Do we have, do we have any other cases in the courtroom?
Yes, we do have number 14, King.
Mr. King, Your Honor.
Okay, and, Ms. McLeod, have you concluded your discussion with Mr. King?
I have, Your Honor.
All right.
Yes.
So, Ms. Folk, could you refresh my memory again as to how much you were asking in terms of bond and a no contact with Ms. Hickson?
$3,000 surety bond, no further contact with Miss Shaquita Hickson, I believe is the yes, further contact with Shaquita Hickson and a stay away from 1133 Oak Knoll Terrace Southeast.
All right. Ms.
Your
McLeod?
Honor. Yes, Your Honor. The Oak Knoll Terrace Northeast address is my client's father's home where he lives with his father and I believe his sister. He tells me that the alleged victim does not live there. She just sometimes comes by to visit. But this is his father's place and he lives there. So we would ask that there not to be any stay away for my client from his own home.
Okay. Bond, is that anything else?
I was just going to say that he tells me that he works at temp agency, Your Honor, so he doesn't really have a lot of money for a bond. And he did tell me that the allegations in the warrant were incorrect, and it was that the alleged victim actually attacked him. And that's the reason that, you know, it wasn't about the tablet at all. She actually attacked him.
Okay. The bond is going to be set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. No further contact with Shaquita Hickson. He may return to the 1133 Oak Knoll, Atlanta, Georgia location with a police officer. And if the officer verifies that Ms. Hickson does not reside there, then he may return to that property. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, no weapons. And staying away from Ms. Hickson means that if she comes by to visit, he needs to turn around and make sure he either shuts the door or he leaves the premises.
Mr. King, I would advise that if this is not related to your bond, that you don't speak. You can always give me a call if there's anything that you need clarified.
All right. That concludes the case. Thank you. His next court date is December 21st. If he makes bond, he needs to maintain a current mailing address with the court.
Thank you, Honor.
Thank you, Ms. McLeod.
What is it that you want to say, Mr. King?
I need to unmute.
First of all, I ain't gonna be able to make the bond because I wasn't able to work at all this month. But another thing, I would like a restraining order against Quito.
No. We're not going to talk about that. This is only about your bond, Mr. King. You can call me to discuss anything else, okay?
Yeah. I ain't gonna be able to go now. I got no money.
I'm sorry, I couldn't make out what
He was just saying he could not afford the bond, Your Honor. He doesn't have any money.
Then we'll see him on December 21st. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Tay, you have positions 24, 25, and 27. Did any of them require a breakout?
24 did, Your Honor.
Okay.
And Your Honor, that concludes my business before the court today. May I be excused?
Yes, thank you. You have a great weekend. Thank you.
Honor,
All right. I think Mr. Tay, you'll be placed in the same, you'll be joining the breakout room, and I think I'll be going back to breakout room number 2, just as Ms. Folk will as well.
Your Honor, really quickly, Renard Neal, position 18. It looks like that was placed on the calendar in error. No. And Your Honor, on position 18, he was released on the case that was pending. He is still holding on a parole violation. It looks like a FTA.
Ms. Atay and Mr. Bartel, Ms. Falk is referring to position 18, which was addressed yesterday. I set a signature bond through the jail. So as far as the theft by conversion charge, is further notice for trial.
Okay, yeah, we got an email about that bond was set yesterday, Your Honor.
Okay,
So,
excellent.
thank you.
So moving on to position 25, Rhonda Wilcox is 23 CR 7818C, accused of simple assault, family violence, in which Miss Atay is representing. Is this a male, Rhonda?
A female.
It's a female? Okay. And you've waived her appearance. Mr. Howard, any priors on Miss Wilcox?
11 total. 2017 simple battery family violence. 06 simple battery dismissed.
All right. Mr. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. Just really quickly, that simple battery family violence, that was the one you said was dismissed, Mr. Howard?
I think I heard
Which
you say
one?
simple battery
06.
family violence.
I'm not sure about 2017. I was talking about 06.
Okay.
right.
Actually, it looks like she did plead nolo on the simple battery family violence from 2018. And pled nolo on 10/24/2019 on that offense. Your Honor, I just wanted a moment to see who the victim was on that case. And it appears to have been Mr. Curtis Wilcox on that case. All right, so in this offense, the defendant put her finger in her daughter's face, Miss Shun Jones, who she stated her mom was intoxicated. The defendant was intoxicated, approached her in an aggressive manner, balled up her fist and put her finger in her face. Miss Jones does appear to be here in the Zoom, and we would like to sound for her so that we can hear what she would like as far as contact. The state is going to ask for a pretrial services bond, signature bond through pretrial services, and that she have, I would like to hear from Ms. Jones before we make a determination and a request as to the stay away and the no further contact. We would, however, ask for FEIP in this case, being that she has a previous battery from 2006 and a 2019 simple battery family violence.
Ms. Shun Jones, if you would like to address the court, you are free to unmute and start your video. Otherwise, we'll proceed. All right. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Ms. Jones?
Ms. Jones? Yes.
I can't see you. Are you dressed appropriately?
Yes, I got on a shirt. I was laying down, but yes, I am dressed appropriately. I do have
All
on.
right. And do you have better lighting in your room?
I could step outside. Let me just.
Okay, that's perfect. All right. And could you please raise your right hand? Other right hand. Other right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes.
Are you comfortable with having Rhonda Wilcox back in the home with you? You can put your hand down.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Falk?
So, Your Honor, the state would ask for no further violent contact with Ms. Shun Jones, and that is all for the state.
Bond is set at $1,000 signature bond through pretrial services. No further violent contact with Shun Jones. No alcohol, no drugs, and no illegal drugs, and no weapons and no firearms. Next court date will be sent to her current address.
And Your Honor, we would ask for some sort of family violence intervention program, or at the very least anger awareness, being that this has happened before.
I'll do a one-day anger awareness program with pretrial. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Atay, is that satisfactory?
I mean, I would object to the one-day anger awareness and ask for a signature bond through the jail. That battery family violence, she pleaded nolo. It was 6 years ago, and anything else was, even more remote. She has recommended UJR level 1. So,
My concern was her 11 arrest cycles. That's why I did through pretrial.
okay. Thank you, Your Honor. No objections.
27, Ms. Jones, you are free to go. Thank you. Darrell Wright, and that is 23 CR 7828D. Represented by counsel, Ms. Atay, and you have waived his appearance as well. He is accused of theft by receiving stolen property and theft by taking. And
This is ninth arrest. He's on probation, ag assault, or deadly weapon, and ag assault. Yeah, that's it.
when was the disposition in that case?
2014. He had a 14 SC and a 12 SC, so it's two different cases.
Okay. Still
they
on
gave
active
him-
probation?
Yeah, they gave him 10 years. So it's a timeout sometime next year.
All right. Ms. Falk?
Yes, Your Honor. The defendant is currently being held on a $2,500 surety bond. In this particular case, it was alleged the defendant took the iPhone of Mr. Enoch Hardiman. He basically heard his phone cut off while he was wearing his AirPods, went outside, saw the defendant rolling away in his wheelchair, pinged the cell phone. It pinged under the defendant's wheelchair, and the defendant claimed he bought the phone for $150 from an individual and that he knew it was stolen. The state did add a theft by taking as an alternative charge. We would ask that $2,500 surety bond be a $500 surety bond, $250 as to each charge. And we would ask that he stay away from Enoch Hardiman and the address at 1654 Orlando Street Southwest in Atlanta.
But the victim did retrieve his phone back, right?
The victim did get his phone back, yes.
Okay. I'm going to do a $500 signature bond through the jail on both counts. And just let your client know, Ms. Atay, that this is an active case and that he needs to respond accordingly. Make sure he has a correct address. No contact with Enoch Hardiman. And that's it.
And
Thank
we
you,
do
Your
ask
Honor.
you to stay away, Your Honor, from 1654 Orlando Street Southwest.
What is that location? Is it
according to Mr. Hardiman, that's his mother's house.
his mother's house?
Yes, so Mr. Hardiman was at his mother's house and his car was parked outside and the phone was in his car outside. So we just want him to stay away from Mr. Hardiman's mom's house.
All right, stay 20 yards away from 1654 Orlando Street, Southwest Atlanta. I'm assuming he lives somewhere nearby. Ms. Atay?
I would have to look. Sorry, if you don't mind. I'll just search.
I mean, if that's a stay away, I mean, normally it's 200 yards away, but I have 1264 West Mount Road, so.
Oh, for his address.
And on the warrant, it says 1550 Pineview Terrace.
Well, let Mr. Day know that he needs to stay at least 20 yards away, which is, according to a football field, 1/5 of the distance, so. I don't know how long that is.
Okay.
All right, okay.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, so just to go back over the calendar, and Mr. Jordan, I don't think I wrote down everything, so please correct me if I'm wrong. Position 1, Anderson, was a 2,500 signature bond through the jail. Position 2 is a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. 3 is a 2,500 signature bond through the jail. 4, Cade is a $6,000 signature bond through pretrial. 5, Cord is a $2,000 surety bond reset to the competency calendar. 6, Carlos Cobb is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial level 2 reporting. 7, Coggins is a $2,000 signature bond through pretrial. 8, Dogan is a 2,500 signature bond through pretrial. 7, Dorsey is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. 10, Floyd is a $6,000 signature bond.
I got a good bond for 10.
I have surety bond.
Okay. Oh, you're right. You're right. because it's reset to December 21st. Sorry, it is a surety bond. Sorry about that. Okay. 11 is a $2,500 surety bond, reset date December 21st. Okay, 12 Homes is a 3,500 signature bond through pretrial. 13 Hood is a $5,000 signature bond through pretrial. 14 Carlos King is a $1,500 surety bond, reset date December 21st. 15 is a $7,000 split bond, reset date December 21st. 16 Milan is a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial with a DPIP. 27 Mincy is a $2,000 signature bond to pretrial. 18 Neal is reset and further notice. 19 O'Brien is a $2,000 signature bond to pretrial. 20 Ross is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail. 21 Stevens is a $3,500 signature bond through pretrial. 22 Swanson's a $10,000 surety bond, reset December 21st. 23 Tigner is a $1,000 surety bond, reset December 21st. 24 Ware is a $1,500 signature bond through the jail. Was it? No, surety bond, excuse me. Reset date.
Your Honor, we have signature bond.
Bond through the jail, and it's reset December 21st for the bench warrant. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, thank you. 25 Rhonda Wilcox is a $1,000 signature bond through pretrial. 26 Wilson's a $1,500 surety bond, reset December 21st. And 27 Wright is a $1,000 signature bond through the jail.
Michael, you got the dad's name is Marcel Baldwin.
Oh,
number 13.
Let's see. I think I wrote it down. Yes, Marcel Baldwin.
Okay.
Yeah, Marcel Baldwin. That's the name that Genesis Hood gave, right, for the co-signer? Or was it the mother who confirmed it?
I think it was the mother. I just forgot the name.
Yeah, but we don't have an address. Did y'all get an address?
No.
All right. Mr. Bartel, was that your client, Genesis
I think
Hood?
it was McLeod, wasn't it?
Oh,
That was a conflict case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hood, yeah.
I don't know if there's anyone in courtroom 2, but they may have left already. Courtroom 2? Oh boy. Okay. Mr. Bartel, if you can reach out to Miss McLeod and let her know that pretrial needs Marcel Baldwin's address. Or if Mr. Baldwin shows up, then he can provide the address to pretrial directly.
Yeah, when he show up, they'll make a copy of his driver's license.
Okay, appreciate it.
Marcel Baldwin is the co-signer?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let Ms. McLeod know.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry. Okay.
She said she was living with her father as opposed to her grandmother, so I just want to be sure.
Okay.
Oh. All right, folks. We are concluded, and enjoy the rest of the weekend. I hear it's going to be rainy days, so stay warm. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, Judge.
Mr. Jordan, I filed a amended accusation on position 26, just a heads up.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.